Hello, everybody, and welcome back. If anybody can think of some really cool YouTube videos of how to count to or from 10, that would be awesome. Like annoy Frank on either Discord or Twitter and send them all to him. And I mean like pentatonics on Sesame Street, counting to 10, all those fun little, because Frank always gets confused. So, you know, let's help a brother out. All right, welcome back to the show, and what were we doing? You have lots of weapons.
We were counting to 10, I thought.
You, Ollie Entree came back from her little vacation. Feel free to describe that, and then we're going to. She's just happy.
There's nothing to describe. She's just back.
She's just happy.
There
She's
she
a slightly more mellow shade of blue. And when and you guys can discuss like how it is that you want to get the spikes into the planet. So please, amongst yourselves, and I imagine because you are on a Taurian war vessel, you actually have a holographic battle map and everything that you can throw up. And because of what's his name there, Cattle having a survey report of the planet, you actually have a whole bunch of detail about like where it is and like the terrain and everything that's over there.
So we know where the base is?
For some reason, the core of the planet is just a doodle of a human's head, and he's just like got little crosses his eyes, and we all know who's done it, but we refuse to address it.
That's funny. I like that. All right, so yes, you have a general. Yeah, you did know where the base was. You don't have the schematics of the base itself, like the full-blown schematics, but you do have it. Actually, Cattle was able to come across that. That was last session. So go ahead, guys.
Would it be possible for us to set up kind of like a remote triggering of the spikes, like with like a little robot or something?
That's an idea. If we go
We have
down,
droids!
if we put them down in person, because then we can set them up, but set them to all go off at the same time, like when we leave, that would be good. But I think we will have to go down in person, maybe in 2 groups to set them up, because there's 3 of it. If we do in 2 groups, 3 each, that'll happen a lot faster. Also, there's a great chance for the DM to kill us. So it makes more sense to me.
So to answer your question, Aaron, yes, you can have a remote trigger. That's definitely something that you would be able to whip up and do. But there's kind of like 3 steps to this. One, it's planting them or putting them in the correct location, because you're dealing with spikes through insanely hard ice. You're talking about like a high impact embedding to get it like in space.
Right.
Though I imagine you could drill and plant it there. There's a million different ways to get it in. Then there's 2. The way that they're generally armed, though maybe there's a way to work your way around that, is a heavy impact from literally the backhand side of it, much like driving a nail into a board with a hammer, right? So that's literally how you arm the explosive part of it. And then 3, there's the trigger. So those kind of like the 3 steps to what you need to do.
So arming it, we could probably do that remotely too, like a high pressure like little thing that would just hit it into it with like a push of a button. We could do that also. Do we want to go down and drill, or do we want to try to drop them from space?
Drop them from space. The less time we spend around, the better.
Cracks would also just suggest using the VI for a trigger, maybe? Because
we do that?
They might be able to handle the explodey bits. Because they're
Well, they
dumb.
wouldn't be able to. I doubt we could remotely do that over the distances involved if you were dropping it from the planet.
Well, I mean, we might be able
You'd
to
have to
tie it
put
to the
something
comm
on
system
it.
in the spaceship.
Then
It does
it'd be
have good reach.
Then, unless you did all 6 at once, it'd be very easy to tell what's going on. And I think we wouldn't be able to do all 6 at once. That way. Because we'd be actively throwing them from the ship.
Yeah.
Which we don't have a way to do, by the way.
Yes, we do. All just cracks. Just
Yeah,
so.
without this would require delicacy, and you would have to, if you did want to put them in the right places, we need more than 6 for that. If we had like 10, we just throw them all down. We have 6.
All I'm saying.
Yeah, but
we have to
I rolled a 2.
sensibly.
But isn't Cracks really good at like throwing things from space? Isn't that what they do?
Yes. That's exactly. This is
what they
Cracker's
do.
plan.
You've got a Solarian to calculate all the trajectories. You've got a Krogan
that'll
to
be
actually
great.
just toss it out there.
You have a pilot that can do precision flying, but it's still as Entree not goofing around is trying to bring. Like you're talking even
You guys are making jokes.
even
She's
one
getting upset.
1,000th degree of miscalculation, literally degree of miscalculation, could plant it way off course from where it needs to be.
Or not at all, because it could tilt.
It could
Or
tilt,
not at
it
all.
could never. Because if we had spares, sure. We don't have spares. We're gonna have to go planet side.
So we're gonna have to manually drill all of them in.
I think manually drill in 2 groups, so that we do 3 each. And I don't know what the groups would be, but it would probably be like, I don't know. We'll probably leave Tremi on the ship so that we have a fast getaway. So it'd just be 2 and 2.
Yeah.
But I think that's probably the smart way to go about it.
Okay.
Okay.
So that's how you'd be able to.
Because then we could get it exactly in the right place, so we get the most bang for our buck.
Ugh.
So that's kind of, we can continue moving forward with that plan in 2 seconds. Now let's take a step back. The base itself has tremendous things of value inside of it. One of them being the very device that you guys had session 1, 2, and 3 about, right? And then later on got batteries for. That sits inside the base. If you drop this base on itself, the ice on the base, that's lost forever. Theoretically, lost forever. How do we feel about procuring things from there, or are we just saying, fuck it, blow it up, why are you complicating things?
You're gonna try to
No.
tempt us to go
No.
the fuck in there,
Our
right?
job is to blow it up. We're blowing it up.
Even
Also-
Cracks is like, no.
That very
Yeah,
thing
I-
we were originally supposed to steal wouldn't be the worst thing for the universe if it was destroyed.
I think
it was
what
gone.
we might be able to do is like, while we, because the plan that Cattle you mentioned briefly is a hex around the base, right? What we might be able to do is get slightly closer to the base and try and like hack remotely to see if we can nab any intel. Because that's a thought Entree is having. If we can nab anything, we should. It doesn't really matter if we get their alarms off if it's the last thing we do and we're already set up. But that's like best case scenario. We can do that, you
Mhm.
know. If we
Yeah,
can
you have to be
steal something, we
suspicious
should.
about
but
the
I
fact
think
that, oh hey, there's people doing things around our base in a specific pattern. What the fuck?
I mean, the hope is that it's like a blizzard and they don't sense us.
Well, it's also the
There's no
concern.
atmosphere to blizzard.
It's also the concern that you're not really people. There's non-people around our base doing stuff. What
Sure.
the heck, right? So just a fun little tidbits about the planet, the planetoid of Pluto, right? So it is negative 229 degrees Celsius there, which for all of you science nerds out there, absolute zero is negative 273 Celsius. So like you're not very far off from absolute zero. That's how cold it is on that planet, meaning that even your suits themselves can only hold you safe for so long, just like they can only hold you safe for so long in space. So kind of keep that in mind. There's like limitations, not like walking around and this planet's fine, other than the fact that there's poison gas, the gravity on the planet is so small, 0.06, that just kind of like dropping something from space and hoping that it'll like embed itself is not necessarily viable, because it's like you drop something from space and it slowly
Yeah.
drops. I mean,
Yeah, but we'll just fly in at
0.06 of
great
Earth. What?
We'll just fly in with the ship at great speed,
Yeah,
and then
so-
not bump into it.
Something like that is totally an option. Flying with great speed and allowing perpetual motion or whatever, to allow motion to kind of like do that for you. So like open the hangar door and hit the brakes, and it kind of like throws itself out, right? Like a kid without a seatbelt, right? Poof, to the dashboard. And then what was the other part of it? And then it's how fast the planet spins. It's a day's length there is 9.4 Earth hours, so it spins. Its rotation is so fast that it makes it difficult to kind of line things up. Though of course, once you hit its orbit, even though its gravity is weak, it's still a large body, like a large mass. So you can of course align so you're in its orbit, so you can kind of line things up a little bit easier. It's just not as easy as, say, when you're dealing with something, a much larger mass that holds onto your gravity, holds onto you with its gravity much easier, you know? But you are still a ship to a planet, you know? Orbit exists.
Damn, I can make Star Wars jokes.
So you guys decided you're not going into the base. Fuck that, we're blowing it up. How are we going to blow it up? You're thinking of kind of going in 2 teams and just kind of like drilling into the ice and planting them there. Is that kind of like where we're sitting right now?
Mm-hmm.
What we also should do, now I think about it, good question, good point, Ollie. How big are the drills? Carrying them around a planet, how is that going to do? I imagine we're going to have to take some little grav lifts around. Can we carry more than one at a time?
I mean, you don't really have to worry about grav lifts. These things are heavy as shit, right? But
Yeah.
their weight. So let's say it's a metric ton. So what's that? 2,000 pounds. So 2,000 pounds is so it's 0.06 of that. So you're not dividing it by 10. You're not even dividing it by so is that not even divided by 10? You're dividing by what's that? 1,000, right? 0.06. Remind me here, math.
Sure, it's light, but still,
Yeah.
wieldiness. Can we travel with more than one at a time?
I mean, you could, as long as you have like a basic transport, sure. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? So that brings me
because-
to the next point. How are you drilling into ice?
My thought process is, how are you drilling it? I assumed that the thing came with a drill setup. You described in a way that had a tripod. It would drill down, and then you hammer.
there is a device that they use that slams it into the ground. So you would have to get your
Couldn't
hands
have
on.
bought that too, Cattle.
You guys
I
bought the
wasn't
spikes.
fucking told.
Now we don't have any way to do it.
I thought I was clear with the explanation.
I thought that came with the thing. Otherwise, I would have.
I would have figured that would come with the thing too.
Yeah.
I didn't know that was a separate thing.
Well, I think we all thought it came with the thing.
So yes, but bullets, but no gun.
I have to buy a drill.
No, we
So,
thought
I
we
have
were
to make a
buying the
drill.
gun. And
I have
now
to make a remote
2 drills.
press, 2 drills,
6 remote
six, and then 6
You might be able to buy an ice.
detonations.
We might be able to buy a
Triggers.
ice drill maintenance thing on the Citadel.
Yeah.
The thing is buying one, considering we're not like a maintenance company, without questions asked.
Okay, and the thing is, you have this ship who bought all these drills. Then we went to Pluto, and we immediately go there. We're just leaving a huge paper trail, is what I'm saying.
Oh, there's no paper trail to the fact that you bought these, aside from that dude. So if like that dude
No,
that you bought
saying
this.
if we buy drills here and then we immediately
I know.
go to
Oh
Pluto,
yeah.
If we
That's
So there's another idea, and it's there's a base on Pluto, right? Well, how did that come to exist?
no,
They have equipment there.
no.
We're not going to the base.
The
You
chances
have to
of
go
having
into the
exact
base. You just have to
equipment drill
procure
the exact type of hole is exceedingly unlikely as well.
the exact type of
Scott.
hole. Oh, well, it's a drill,
Yeah.
you know.
How long would it take me to build
A
up?
drill is not just a drill, Scott.
No. But you
have
imagine
to
you
say-
imagine there's a bunch of different types of equipment they use to across the way, blah blah blah. I'm sorry, Aaron. You were.
How long would it take me to put all this together?
I mean, the remote detonator, like the actual press the button, kaboom. That's actually super simplistic. I imagine 2-3 days would be easy to do. It actually Cattle could help you with that because it's both a matter of wiring and programming, not the hardest thing. The hammer to the back of the thing,
Yeah.
you guys have already looked up the information, so something that's going to deliver that kind of a blow. That's a really good question. You're not entirely sure. Theoretically,
Cracks could do it.
One of the things that you could do is, if you think that the aim is good enough, a type of weapon on the ship itself, if it's designed to be non-explosive, not necessarily
I'm
mass
thinking
accelerated.
like an air pressure thing. It's actually quite small, but the pressure in it is enough to.
I
set
mean,
it off.
so you
It
talk
would make
about
sense to be mechanical because then we
Mm-hmm.
can trigger them all at once.
the idea of the what was the name of that movie? No Country for Old Men, the cow killer, like that kind of and
Oh, yeah.
that
I
thing.
would have.
So
Yeah.
something like that, totally feasible. Making 6 of those would take you a while, and I imagine you'd buy parts that were already semi-fabricated of that. So I would give that maybe 2 weeks of purchasing the parts and constructing it. Cracks and Cattle would probably assist you with that to make it nice and quick. Entree wouldn't really have to help out with either of those tasks unless she has something she wanted to throw in there. the drill part is going to be the hard thing, because you're not just going to be able to build a drill, right?
Yeah.
You're going to, like, that's a
Well,
lot
I mean,
more
if we
difficult.
buy a drill and then it takes us a long time to make these things, that will cool our trail slightly.
The issue is, how long are you spending to drill at the 6 locations on the surface, just immediately within range of, like you guys said beforehand, who are these people?
That's why we thought it came with drills so we could set it up, and that wouldn't be a problem.
But even
now
that-
the plan doesn't make as much sense.
But even with when they come with those things, that's
It's gonna take time.
Takes time.
And they're gonna notice us there.
Yeah, but you can like set it up. Yeah, I imagine you set up a bit of a tower defense sequence, and then you.
It's like the whole drop from orbit.
Payday 2 kind of.
As flawed as that planet is, the drop from orbit, as flawed as that is, it technically is faster, like a lot faster, like rocket propelled missiles, more or less, that have their own targeting.
Can we add a propulsion onto each one of those things to like push it forward?
Sure, it's a tube, and you don't have to deal with really wind currents. There's no atmosphere on Pluto, so you don't have to deal with like snowstorms or anything like that happening and blowing it off course. So like once you do the math, theoretically it'll
That
work.
would be easier than me trying to build a drill or buy a drill and us going down there and doing it ourselves.
I mean, if you're like seriously saying drop from space, Entree will repeatedly say no until but like she's just like, no, that will never work.
We'll never
The
be on that
chances
tiny
of
little.
it working are so slim.
So
there are chances of it
chances of
working of us doing
Trevi's going to chime
being
in.
able to sneak onto the planet.
Trevi's going to chime in
Individually drill these holes.
with actually a bit of video footage, because of, you guys know the history of the ship. She'll chime in with a bit of video footage. So while she's like, it's never gonna work, da-da-da, and then all of a sudden, like, the radio is obnoxiously loud, so it's like drowning out Entree, which I'm sure she finds aggravating. And like there's a display on screen. You actually see the former commander of the ship, and he's like, "All right, you all got the order. Set things up. Make it instant Torian, so of course your translators have to take care of it for you. And launch the first one now." And you actually see there's like a tracking of like a bit of like a satellite that's orbiting a planet. Starting to get like, all of a sudden, like, it has crazy thrusters going off of it because of damage that was done to it and wire tinkering that was done to it, starting to careen itself towards a planet. And then the video kind of like cuts to a little bit in the future where there's, again, satellite images watching as the thing continues careening down, and then it cuts a bit more to the future where the satellite itself actually crashes into a city, hitting a specific building, crashing things on top of it. A few moments later, another satellite crashes into the city. And at the same time these are crashing into the city, you're seeing ground force, IR, video footage, kind of like off to the side, juxtaposed, like next to this, of like where human soldiers were like situated, hiding within the building, and the building itself like collapsing around on them and like crushing and killing the human forces that are there, as once again these satellites are being dropped from space and hitting them. And so like she's just sitting there and watching this, and of course for her it's like pleasant memories.
Oh yeah, she's just showing off how they casually kill more humans and commit war crimes.
So I mean, she's
It's another day aboard the vessel.
Well, because remember, she had already admitted that this was her idea. Like, she was one of the people that sat in a briefing room and came to this conclusion of how to handle the First Contact War. And so she's like, it'll never work. Ever work.
If you're saying I pointed out that it would work, I wasn't listening and I didn't pay attention. I was completely distracted through that entire flashback.
Basically, okay, let me explain this in 40K. We's gonna get big rock.
So they did this before.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
With
Again,
satellites.
Entree still says
On the ship.
this is exceedingly unlikely and a worse plan. If you want to go ahead with it, fine. If it doesn't work, if one drill doesn't work, the entire plan is ruined. You need to get a 100% success rate for this to work. Whereas on the ground, if 2 drills don't work, you're still going to break the base. That's her point.
Trevi actually will agree with you and say, no, you're right. We should have extras in case things go wrong, because that was an example of dropping something exactly where you wanted it to land. As long as it hit that spot, things went boom. However, it was a matter of hitting the spot, not hitting it at such a way that it drilled itself into the ground. It's a lot more complicated when you're trying to have it align a certain way. But, can't you just have like side propulsion to, just like
Here's my
landing a
issue.
ship?
Exactly. Here's my issue with us going onto the planet. Okay, they see us coming because we have no way to avoid them. Okay, we get down there, we drill maybe one drill, maybe two at most. They send their entire base at us because they have an entire base there. We can't defend ourselves against that, and then we have maybe two in place properly.
Same thing
An
happens in space.
anti-Xeno organization probably has some
No, 'cause we
military
can get
forces
away.
on hand for when Xenos come up and be like, hey, we're going to blow up your base now.
You can't get away in space. Yeah, there's a mass relay
Better than
right
on the
there.
ground.
So they could use it to follow us, and they probably are very good at following people who just use their mass relay.
I mean, if you
Cracks.
think that's the best
We
way
have
to
one of
go,
the
I just
fastest right now.
Krax has an idea to join both ideas
Oh,
together.
yeah, that's the.
So, why don't we just destroy the base first, land, and then place the E? We can destroy the base from orbit.
Destroy the base.
We can destroy the base
Oh,
first.
like we actually get an asteroid
Yeah.
and throw it.
I think cracks the whole plan of what you're like what we're doing with the spikes was to make that possible because of how hard the ice and ground was.
Look, Krax only rolled a 2. This is his plan.
Crack just wants to blow stuff up and commit war crimes.
I'm just thinking
Well, not that war. It's not a war.
I have no problem in up close combat with all the humans, but I'd like more of them dead and less of me dead. So that's why I'm thinking the ability to do it from afar is probably smarter. And if we have everything set up beforehand, once we head through the Sharon relay, we can set all this up, launch all of them from space at the same time. But I agree. You're right. We need 100% success if we have 6 and need 6. If we had 12, then who cares about pattern? Just throw them all at it. Like, remember that game you guys were playing with when you were on the human colony and you were throwing things?
Darts.
That game. So when you were playing that game, you were supposed to hit a bullseye, right? That's what they call it, the dot. Well, when you're playing that game and you have to hit every spot's perfect, that can be difficult. But if you just grab like a fistful of those things and throw them at it, well, you hit near it, right? So maybe we should double down how much we're spending and get double the amount and just kind of like all launch. Like if one is not enough to hit it, maybe double the explosives directly on it will, and maybe we won't kill everybody, but we'll kill a damn well enough of them and drop down enough of the base that they're horribly crippled and we can handle the rest. We can try
I'm not
precision
sure
with
if our
half of
contact
them.
is just going to be ready to just sell us more of them.
We can make them ready. Or we can not buy them and just take them.
Stealing from a shady space station. It's a good way to get even further on people's shit list.
Ends justifies the means?
Are we already like upsetting a criminal organization by blowing up their base?
Yeah, but that's the neutral spot. If you're gonna piss off all the criminals in the galaxy if you just steal from Omega. Not to mention the fact that Arya is gonna have something to say about us not fucking with her.
Arya, why don't you're friends with her, right? She says, looking to Entree. Couldn't you ask Arya, to sell them to you?
You were talking about the potential of getting more crew. The reason why we didn't get more crew and we spent a lot of money on virtual crew is because we didn't want to get more people involved in a highly illegal situation where we might be destroying a planetoid.
We could these spikes. Let's take it back a step. These spikes are used on Omega, and so that's why we purchased them. But Omega is a mining station, not a manufacturing station. Where do the spikes come from? Perhaps we get them from there as opposed to Omega itself. Buy them from the source.
That's possible, but it would be a larger chance of us being discovered.
But it might be a good idea. Winnie is right. The more things we do in a shorter time, the more risk we build to ourselves. Perhaps if we do take some time to try and find the source of these mining spikes, it might be an investment of time and perhaps funds, but it would be a good idea, and then your perhaps impossible plan would have a chance if we could. I mean, can we store many more mining spikes?
Kind of, looking to Winnie, you guys discuss it amongst yourselves, and it's one of those, like, 2 more, definitely more than that. Your ship is going to need, like, some more cargo, because you're already kind of, like, weighing it down pretty heavily with what you've got right now.
We already have 6, yeah.
Yeah. So they're not small by any stretch of the imagination. So you're going to have a hard time transporting them as it is right now with how the ship's currently configured. So you come to that conclusion that it's going to make it difficult to carry more at once, at least right now. So maybe storing them somewhere nearby Pluto or enhancing the ship somehow, whatever. Who cares? Get to that in a second. She says, if we need to do things a little bit quicker, instead of constantly trying to be hidden in the shadows and doing things ourselves, we could always hire some shady person to go and do the purchase for us and then kill them. We just hire a couple of humans, have them go and purchase the spikes for us, and then after they, just do, and then we don't really have to worry about anybody knowing that we purchased the spikes because somebody else did the transaction, and it's not like we have to worry about loss of life because I've never really cringed when I've stepped on a roach, so...
For me.
That's not the worst idea, but then the issue is finding the right kind of shady person who is disposable enough that nobody
I'm
will
sure
really bat
you know
an
more
eye.
than a few.
Oh yeah, don't worry about that. I've got
But also,
connections.
then we're only adding 2 more to our total.
It would allow us a 75% chance success rate instead of 100%.
I honestly, if we're going with Entree's logic, and it's not wrong, launching 6 of them to hit exactly where they're supposed to, and then dropping 6 more just right in the middle, just because, why not blow more up at once? Then that we could double our amount. And do we have the funds for that? Do we have a means of transporting them? Is there a place that we can store them nearby the Sharon relay so that we can do this and not really worry so much? Winnie, do you think that you can find the means of transporting more of these?
Could I, Scott?
Is
Is there a way to store them outside the ship?
You can increase so there are ways to increase the amount of power that the ship can put out and then turn that power into mass or enhance. It all comes down to money. So yes, can more things be done? Yes, but it all comes down to money.
It's going to be very expensive.
You could technically strap them to the outside of the ship and do things that way, but how do you do so in a safe manner? Again, it all comes down to money. So
Yeah.
We also need money to purchase the spikes and to tempt the shady people to get them for us.
So how? Well, who cares about tempting the shady people? We pay them the money and then take it back afterwards if we need to. I mean, if we're just hiring humans, we're just gonna kill them anyways. So we don't have we don't have people that can use our names, right? But she says this openly, of course. And
Yeah.
averting eyes from Winnie. How much do we have the money to purchase 6 more?
We have the money to purchase 6 more, especially if we're going to the manufacturer instead of the what's the right word for it? The person that uses them.
The purchase
which,
could then
of
be
course,
legal then, so it's less hidden money.
and also less bribes. Also, the fact that we're buying from the source, so it wouldn't be as expensive as we're buying from the end user. Maybe, but we'd also have to invest quite heavily into the ship to actually make sure that we can hold them. Or we have to store them somewhere in the Charon, or somewhere near the Charon relay.